Every summer, I spectate another week of havoc dressed as celebration. Every winter I witness those at the deepest of their despair looking for a light, and yet still, every year, time and time again, I see you, forever opening your arms to anyone who would be so desperate to jump in. I can't fault them, as even I once fell for your glittering worlds and boundless opportunities. However, for 5 years, I've quietly simmered in the back, taking notes of your every move. It's my turn to play my piece once again, VKET. Since 2018, there has been an event known as the Virtual Marketplace run by Hiki. I have had my fair share of videos posted on this topic, however, the only one that matters to get a deeper understanding of this video will be linked below, and should show up in the top right corner now. You do not need to watch that video to understand this one, but it may help illuminate my logic. In case you don't know who I am, I welcome you. My name is Nuoance, and I've been chewing on a theory about the true nature of VKET for almost half a decade now. The Virtual Marketplace is an event that allows all kinds of creators to submit and upload their own booths for VR chat related content. Assets, models, worlds, particles, even stream and community postings. It is a way for the player base to get more in tuned and connected with their metaverse companions. That's not all they do. The virtual market also hosts special events during the week, such as concerts or charity fundraisers to start. While a vast majority of the worlds are dedicated for those who want to share their work to potential clients, there are 2 or 3 worlds dedicated to the bigger corporations and high money spenders, the Parareal Earth. These worlds, unlike the others, usually end up being removed by the end of the week, since there is a lot of legal attached to it. However, the Parareal often showcases the most important information for world building into the story of VKET Chan and her companions. To do a very quick overview of my long-standing theory, I believe that VKET Chan, and by extension the company she's connected to, are attempting to drag people into the metaverse against their will. Even as early as VKET 2, there have been mentions of a second life outside of reality, one that is much less stressful with the body and money you've always wanted. VKET's goals have clearly been stated as creating its own economy and thus a community that you'll never want to leave. And this year was the most cut and dry I've seen their story ever get. Before we begin, a warning. VKET itself may not have an overbranching story, and these may be a series of coincidences. Do not take my video as fact, and instead just enjoy the fun that comes with the lore and theory building. Connected to that, much of the video references Japanese culture and folklore. As an American who lost interest in anime long ago, most of this will be lost on me, and even more so, I can't translate everything in the worlds that may be relevant. Thank you, Good Guy Pie, for the help in translation where you could. So if you have more information, or perhaps I've misunderstood a common Japanese reference, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And VKET-chan, if you're watching this, know I have security measures to keep you and your minions out of the video. Oh yeah. High quality protection. As mentioned in the original video, the VKET has many different worlds that almost seem to allude to a similar theme. One that comes to mind is the Sweet Sweet Tea Party, where you're invited to a land of sweets and snacks and offered more tea and cakes than you could handle. Yet, when you make it to the end, there are 2 possible outcomes. The first is if you eat anything in the world, you'll turn into a being just like those who live there, now under the rule of the Sweet King. However, if you refuse and make it to the end eating nothing, he'll shoo you away, losing all signs of hospitality, and doesn't seem to want you there. I bring this specific story up as it isn't the first time VKET has had a tale of assimilating to the culture and rules of another world, or risk being seen as an outsider, or even punished. Each world has its own stories that I feel like shoestrings to an overbranching tale, a story about people who have struggled against, worked with, or became a victim to the metaverse. And while we could, and I eventually should, explore each and every experience and make the connections, today I want to focus on 3 specific worlds from this year's haul: Parareal Yokohama, Paral Osaka, and Komurasaki Village. In the Komurasaki Village, you start out from a page of Spirited Away, walking through a tunnel into a quaint little fishing village. This place is hidden away between the mountains and the sea, populated by the people who live a peaceful life with minimal outside interaction. They mention a company, the Komori Heavy Industries, who started in the town and grew to a grand scale during and after the Edo period. Feeling like they owe to the fishing village to their success, they have returned with the goal of upgrading Komurasaki, though as you explore, you learn the villagers are heavily against this, posting signs, having protests, and possibly destroying construction equipment. They are adamantly attempting to scare the traitors out. Negotiations are hosted by a man who was moved to live in the village, but suddenly his daughter, Ichiko, went missing before her big trip out into the world. The first world you enter is the summer phase, 6 months after the girl went missing. The second world is the winter phase, 1 day after she went missing. Spoilers below, so if you want to experience the story on your own, you should check it out yourself now. It turns out that the village is more close-knit than we originally thought, having kidnapped Ichiko, stating that no one leaves the village by choice or by force. There's also some weird demon creature, which I assume is Okomori-sama, a local deity who the village has sacrificed an outsider to twice a year. This winter, you witness Ichiko become the deity's sacrifice of choice and narrowly escape to safety on your own. Depending on the world that you're in, you'll either be there right after she went missing or the aftermath a season later. During all this, you meet a girl who is Ichiko's friend who is also on the hunt for her whereabouts and, during the winter phase, bears witness to what happens to her. Firstly, a list of our core characters. We have Ichiko, the missing girl who surprisingly looks like VKET Channel 1. We know that she was planning to leave the village before she went missing and is the daughter of the lead negotiator for the current clash between innovation and culture. Secondly is Nigo, who I will dub as Ni-chan, the friend, who also bears a striking resemblance to VKET Channel 2. She is on the hunt for her friend, but in the summer arc is on edge and tries to warn us not to stick our nose where it doesn't belong, fearing for our safety. She knows the dangers that comes with the village and is just another cog in the wheel. Thirdly is Furano, the shrine maiden, who met a girl from a city and was inspired by their looks. This girl is Ichiko, as not only do they look very similar, but the hairpiece she was given is the very same one Ichiko wears. Finally, we have the villagers, shadowed out and jump between welcoming you in a sickly sweet way, sudden bursts of maniac laughter, or protesting and hoping for the downfall of Komori heavy industry. Most of them are against the technological advancements that Komori is pushing for and even find a sick level of pleasure in the horrific rituals performed there. The only member who is not against it and more open-minded is Ichiko's father, the negotiation for restoration and not originally from the village. These villagers worship a deity known as Okimori-sama, who is seen as the god of their land that they live on. The festival's main goal is to invite people from all over to their quaint fishing town before seemingly sacrificing them. This is to keep the prosperity of the town, making sure the village continues to maintain its state of equilibrium. Okomori-sama is meant to keep them safe from the dangers of the outside world, stating things as to stay is to be safe and humanity is best when away from the rest. Interestingly enough, the village is run by the Komori family who, if the name has anything to go by, own the Komori heavy industry and are leads in this conservative practice. From this cast, one thing is probably abundantly clear to you. Two of these characters look exactly the same and yet claim to be different. As I replayed the map and reread the texts, I realized something. Originally, I thought that perhaps Furano stole the style of Ichiko and didn't actually know what happened to her friend. I found it a weird idea because not only was she there at the end when Ichiko was supposedly passed, but we have more than just the VKET Chans. We have 3 other characters that could have been used for the sake of the story, or even a new character if they so needed one and didn't want to mesh with the other VKET themed events. Or at worst case scenario, the Shrine Maiden wasn't a core character and could have been shadowed out like the rest. Yet, this isn't the case, and the only actors we have in this tale are VKET Channel 1, VKET Channel 2, as well as VKET Nyan in the form of a regular cat. The trick is when you play the maps in order, you're actually playing them out of order. You're playing them backwards, and this was done on purpose. Some of the texts in the second section of the map showcase someone who is struggling against the influence of Okomori-sama, eventually resulting in the ideals to take the legs of anyone who wants to leave. There are texts hidden throughout both maps, and while the summer world may have different authors, the winter notes, only found in the horror section, are most likely written by a single person. A scrambled mess of someone scared, trying to escape, and slowly succumbing to the will of the village. Or perhaps the will of Okimori-sama. Looking back, Furano had 2 different types of text when speaking to her. Her regular speaking, one that is commonplace among the other people, and her full capitalization speak, which only happens in the horror sections. Even in the summer section, it mentions that we should have listened to her warning instead of my warning, implying that she isn't Furano. Furano is just a cover name for the true identity of this shrine maiden, Ichiko herself. And even going from shrine to shrine, you can see this story happen. You start by unlocking an evil under the gazes of the corrupted village. Shortly after, you see Ichiko locked in a shrine, bloodied with blackened eyes and severed limbs, before she is replaced by a doll. We move to a shrine filled with other dolls falling to the ground before looking at you, and ending with a shrine that only has your own photo, a solemn sign of your death as two dark arms wrap themselves around you. Ichiko, while trying to fight against Okamori-sama, started with an attempt to escape, but possibly turned against those she was with in the dark of night. Over time, during her escape, she can't find herself fighting the influence anymore, harming those around her by removing their legs and arms. She's traumatized, scared of what she's becoming, and the villagers take her to a cave where Okamori-sama lives, who now takes her as a host. One of the people we see hurt is Nichan, stated by what we see before the cave section of the horror map, giving in to the will of the Komori family and refusing to go against them. Yet it is not in her nature to give in, as she does attempt to help you again later in summer and is possibly punished for her insolence. Another common feature within the map are these small round stones with faces on them. A little hunt revealed these are called Chizos, and a quick Google search stated their purpose is... Oh god. Okay. That's a lot of kids then. While I found different meanings to this overall, I choose to believe that this one is the current reference, as you follow the literal paper trail of missing posters in summer, and you'll find a lone poster crushed underneath a Jizo looking up at you. As stated earlier, Komurasaki Village finds their victims through their events, which just so happens to be hosted twice a year. And similarly, there is another community that also hosts special events twice a year, also in summer and winter. All the information I gave you was important to fully understand how this all connects. These characters may be putting on a play, or perhaps this was their reality, but either way it tells a story of how Virtual Market came to be. If you watched my first video, you remember how I spoke about the main goal of the marketplace is to create an online economy, a new reality away from reality. How the creator knows how stressful the real world is, and how enticing they can make living in a virtual community could be. And so, twice a year in summer and winter, VKET hosts the marketplace to gather people from around the world into their small home. And once you get in, you may never come out. This is a parallel to how VKET sees and acts towards us, the players, known as mortals, so that we stick around and continue to follow. And this is where our story begins. The village is a start to a tale that has been years in the making and brings us to our second location, Paral Osaka. When we meet VKET-chan in Osaka, she's holographic. O1 says that she's the main administrator for VKET systems and a personal guide for outsiders to visit, but doesn't have enough of a physical form to interact with the world around her. The para-real worlds have always been a virtual recreations to help make citizens feel more at ease and connected to their origins, with O1 and O2 always there to help you feel welcomed. But if you've ever been to a VKET, you'll know that O1 and O2 usually are in a physical form, or not transparent at the very least. This is because Para-Real Osaka is a prelude to what's to come. This is the next chapter in their story, where someone, who knows who, could have created a program in the muse of Ichiko to help ease the worries of those interested. And as you probably could guess, I theorized that maybe her father is part of this. In his despair of losing his only family he had left, he could have created a program as a form of coping, which slowly morphed into becoming what took away his daughter in the first place. A cult with the goal of isolating others to be forced to join the community that he believes is safe. Komurasaki Village could also be a parallel to a possible virus within the VKET code that has corrupted VKET-chan 01, 02, and VKET Nyan. But how do we know this is the earliest form of the para-real worlds so far? Well, it's simply because while O1 travels with you, a mortal, she feeds off of your energy, called para-realization. At first it's small, just a hat and some buns, maybe a drink, but she starts gaining a physical form over time and things like emotions and actions in future instances to control the virtual world. And even more, we only see O1 in this instance, even though O2 is a character heavily integrated in the lore. I'd argue this is because, just like with the village in Nichan, she hasn't been fully brought over. She is still hesitating and yearns for the outside world. Each world you go to, every time you interact with O1 or O2, you make them a little more real. And this explains their reaction, and many others in other instances, feeling negative when you refuse to play their game. When you refuse to be part of their journey, or more accurately, let them be a part of yours. Osaka is also seen as the port between the real world and the virtual one, where mortals can use a ship to dive even deeper into the virtual space. It would make sense that when creating a real-to-virtual program, the first part you'd test out with people is the one that gives them access to the deeper sections of the metaverse. And on the other side of the coin, Parareal Yokohama and Parareal Dubai are at the end of our story thus far, in a future far beyond our own, where Earth is but a shell of what it used to be. We know for a fact that Dubai is after Earth's destruction, where we reach out to these robotic aliens who are interested in our old culture, who can only base the tales on notes and recreations seen online. And Yokohama must be connected to this time period because at the very end you find a poster that showcases and promotes Parareal Dubai, which wouldn't be possible unless they were around the same time. Additionally, when you get to the very end of Yokohama, there's a large rocket that you can send off, with Konnichiwa plastered on the front. Another will shortly take its place, and as stated in Dubai, we are visiting their virtual space, so this rocket could very well be a way for us to contact them. At this point, we are so far gone, our human bodies are but shells of what they used to be, as we are living on a life of the horrors in the real world that has been destroyed due to a number of unknown variables. We could very well also tie this in with Kowloon Empire, another world where you've broken into a government undetected to find out what happened, once again, to missing people. And once again, these people were taken away when in a time of need and fed to a machine to be used as a power for drones. Replace drones with demons, and a time of need with a yearning for freedom, and it's the same story as the village. We can go even further, replacing drones and demons with servants, and time and yearning with food, and it's the same story as the sweet world I mentioned at the beginning. We've seen this similar story beat pretty much at least once a VKET year, because to me I believe they're trying to tell us something. I could be a kooky lady, but coincidences are only coincidences if they don't happen consistently for at least 3 years straight. From almost day one of creation, the marketplace has promoted the ideal of a virtual economy and community, where you hide out from the real world and stay secluded within their virtual one. That actually makes me remember something Komurasaki Village mentions as well. The people who are influenced by their local deity become something known as hikikomori, which is, in simplest terms, secluded shut-ins, neats, socially inept people who have withdrawn from society and stay within their own personal isolation or confinement. Many of the hikikomori in this lore are not willing subjects, instead they are there because of personal interest, goals, or unfortunate timing. It is circumstances outside of their control, or at the very best, they are gently pushed in the direction that the villagers want them to go. Even if Komurasaki Village is a giant ball of symbolism and not meant to be taken literally, and perhaps Ichiko's father is not a real character and was just used to push the tale forward, it is hard to deny that there isn't some level of truth or story that they are trying to tell us. There are so many hints woven in the threads of the metaverse that VKET is sharing, and maybe out of pride of their work and constant success. And perhaps soon they'll grow even bolder with a temptation that is nigh impossible to resist. But with that, I want to thank you all so very much for taking the time to check out this video, and I want to thank VKET Market once again for a fantastic year. This summer market was by far the best one in a hot minute, and if we're expecting the same level of quality in future versions, I can confidently say I'm looking forward to more worlds and lore. Please let me know in the comments your own ideas, and if you've got more information you'd like to share. Thank you again, make sure to drink your water, eat your broccoli, and have a fantastic day. See y'all in the next video. Okay, that's a bit of a small lie there. I actually had a few random things I wanted to add because it was just kind of cool. Like, one of the signs of the village state that they're always feeling watched and list a few locations. I couldn't find 2 of the 3 locations, but if you look under a vending machine in the summer world of someone's booth, I found a hidden camera pointed right up at us. Another thing that I find hilarious is Komori Industry is a real company for printing presses. I don't think that was on purpose, maybe it was a silly little accident, but I don't think it attaches to the lore very much, so do with that info as you will. Also, there's a point where VKET Channel 1 fades away, and it's just funny to see the clothes fade secondly. Since VKET is popular with booth avatars, I'm assuming these clothes are just a switch out and not actually a single mesh, thus causing the delay. I didn't go over the other worlds this summer, even though some of them have some cool points to tie in, because this video would have been way too long and I wanted to get the main points out there. So once again, I really appreciate y'all sticking around, and if you have anything you'd like to add, please let me know. Bye-bye!